Welcome back to the Warehouse Podcast, everyone. My name's Elijah. All-Star Weekend is at an end. Orioles were represented well throughout the entire weekend, though. Jesse talked to you about the Home Run Derby, but Gunnar did come back the next night, represented again. Adley Rutschman, Corbin Burns, Anthony Santander, Jordan Westberg, and Adam Jones. We'll get into that and chat about the Orioles 2024 MLB Draft in just a minute here. Before that, want to thank the sponsor of this show. Bet Online is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. It's betonline.ag and use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your first 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online, the game starts here. So stumbling over my words already, just like 45 seconds into the show, we're off to a great start, but we're going to get into it regardless. First off, I'm going to start off a little bit lighthearted. All-Star Weekend is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a spectacle. I think that despite the fact that it was really gimmicky with all the Texas stuff, we had lassos, we had, like barroom saloon scenes during ad breaks, we had riding bulls, we had all sorts of stuff. It's supposed to be an entertainment thing. We have the benefit here of having an all-star game where players actually compete. Mason Miller goes out there and throws 103.6 miles an hour. Jarren Duran, Shohei Ohtani, we've got talent doing the things that they're supposed to do, as opposed to NBA, NFL, where it's like everybody gets out there, nobody wants to get hurt, so they all take it easy and kind of fool around. This, like is a little bit entertaining. It's a little bit more captivating. But we can keep the lightheartedness with it at the same time because the game doesn't mean anything anymore. Back when we, had World Series, I cannot believe this was a thing. World Series home team advantage on the line. This was not such a fun thing. Now that it is purely fun, I love what MLB is doing, trying to just like keep the spirit of friendly but like also good competition alive. Um, and kudos to them for that. And I think we probably got some things we could say about the home run derby and how exciting that was, but Jess already talked about that. I'm not gonna rehash it. But so in the spirit of all of this, let's talk red carpet just for 1 minute. I know I don't know. The Orioles put just this insane range of outfits together. And we're like, we'll get to Captain Jack Sparrow, of course, but I'm gonna start like on the normal side. And who could it possibly have been but Jordan Westberg? In the least surprising move ever, he just wore a plain nice suit. He looked great, don't get me wrong, 10 out of 10, but it's very plain. I don't want to call him plain, but he has a subdued personality. That is what you would expect from him. That's okay. We love Westy. But we got some smiles out of him. He broke out the cheese a little bit for the cameras. So good to see that out of Westy. Gunnar was a little bit more flashy. He had the hair slicked back as he does, mustache in full force, just like Westy. It's a little bit more interesting because, this suit had a pinkish hue. He had his number sewn into the side, or into the inseam. All-Star game patch on the other side, like unbuttoned, flash for the cameras. Tony wore this like electric blue suit and just like, I mean, the Latin flair was out in full force. He had like patch of his home country embroidered on the side. He also had his number. He brought the whole family. It was just a family affair. They're all posing for pictures together. It was really great. He wore shades too. It was good. Adley, being the personality that he is, he just had to do something like just a little bit different because that's who he is. I said Captain Jack Sparrow. It's because like the thing that he wore could best be described as a blouse. It had no jacket over it. It had this like tassel thingy hanging off. I can't even describe it. But it looked good. It's like this clean white. And he got on the MLB Twitter account for like a get ready with me type deal, like they're doing on TikTok now. I sound like I'm probably too old to be saying that. I don't use TikTok though. I'm just gonna be upfront with it. Um, I'm probably too young to be sounding that old, is what I was trying to say. I'm on the young side, still under 30. Let's get it straight. Uh, but anyway, like it's cool to see Adley like letting his personality shine, doing something a bit different here, and embracing the stardom. Like MLB approaches him like, "Yo, can we do this? Stupid little video. Would you indulge us?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he has fun with it. He's charismatic, like in this 15-20 second video, and that's the kind of thing that I mean, it's good for the game. It makes him seem personable. It makes him very easy to root for, and it makes him just like so endearing to fans across the country. So shout out to Adley Rutschman, just like letting the personality shine and just continuing to be one of the most wholesome guys on the face of this planet. We love Adley. And last and also very much least, man, this is so good. The best way I can describe Corbin Burns' outfit is like, uh, let's say the type of athleisure that you'd see like a 63-year-old hedge fund manager wearing to his tennis lesson at the country club. I think that's probably like about the right vibe, and he's probably making calls because somebody screwed up at his company, and he's saying, "Don't bother me, I'm at tennis." Um, that was the vibe that Corbin Burns gave off. He was totally out of place here. He looked insanely comfortable, and he was just full dad mode. He's just strolling in sweats down the red carpet. I loved it. I'm happy for him. Um, but if you like got the context for this, it actually makes a bit of sense. So if you have not heard, Burns was fresh off the plane. He got permission to skip the festivities leading up to the All-Star game from MLB. He flew home to Arizona. Us Orioles fans know he just went on the paternity list shortly, a short while ago. He has twin daughters at home. He flew in the morning of from Arizona, walked the red carpet in sweatpants, gave an interview on the mound before he warmed up to Ken Rosenthal, which is we all know how serious Corbin Burns is. That must have been painful, but he handled it well. He seemed okay. Um, yeah, walks the red carpet in sweatpants, gives an interview, throws a scoreless inning, showers, talks to the media for a couple minutes, and jumps back on a plane. He's back in his bed in Arizona that night. So just kind of a legendary, like I don't know. It's just celebrity drops into the party, waves, says hello to everyone, and immediately scoots. Uh, yeah. So shout out to Corbin Burns. We appreciate, like the dedication to actually come be a part of this. Um, it's just like it's dedication to, like this event and everything, but it's also prioritizing his family, and not wasting this opportunity to go spend time with his newborn daughter. So good, good to see like the humanity of these players. Good to see prioritizing, the outside life a little bit. Just glad he got to have the best of both worlds a little bit, and good work to MLB on allowing him to do that. Like All-Star Game Media Day is not that big a deal. It should not have taken priority. So, anywho, we'll get to the game a little bit. The Orioles were able to do a pretty special thing at the beginning of this All-Star game, and that is lining up the starting battery. We had Corbin Burns and Adley Rutschman in the starting lineup, on the mound for the very first pitch. It's a super cool thing. On top of that, obviously, we had Gunnar at short. Kind of the three up the middle right there is a pretty neat thing, and not something that happens very often. Excuse me. Burns had, is a fine first inning. He walked Shohei, which, like, what are you going to do? It's Shohei. Allowed a double to Bryce Harper. What are you going to do? It's Bryce Harper. It's fine. You can't fault him for either one of those. Two of the best hitters of this generation. But he had a pretty cool moment immediately after that double. Burns' former catcher, William Contreras, came up to bat. Catcher for the Brewers, of course. He gets him to ground out back to Burns, and Burns like fields it moving toward first base. as he does so, he kind of looks up and taunts Contreras a little bit, tosses the ball to the first baseman, and then like gives him a half hug as they're running down the line. Cool moment between future teammate or future Corbin Burns is going to be an Oriole for life, not future teammates. I take it all back. I take it all back. Former teammates. Cool moment between former teammates. Gunnar hit second for the AL, led to kind of a cool moment in the broader sense. You know, Gunnar against Paul Skeens in the bottom of the first inning. Just one of the best young hitters in the game, if not the best young hitter in the game, against the best young pitcher. You know, these are two stars for years and years to come. We don't have to talk about how the at-bat went. It was just, you know, we'll say it was cool in theory. Gunnar would have a very nice play at shortstop, kind of charging into his backhand, grabbing a short hop, throwing on the run. This is a play us Orioles fans have seen 7,000 times. And, you know, it's like as much as something semi-routine can become like a signature play, I think that this unequivocally, like charging to the backhand, throwing on the run, I mean, this is Gunnar's shtick. He makes it look so good. Um, and yeah, you know, we've just been fortunate to see that about 1,000 times, but it's cool for him to put it on display. Um, All-Star Game announcers loved it. Glad to make them happy, of course. Adley did not do a whole lot in the game. He did catch Tarek Skubal and Mason Miller, which, you know, we had Twitter joking about some potential foreshadowing for those future pairings. I'm not buying into that. I don't think we're getting either one of them, but I can say with confidence I like how it looked. You know, Adley looked good back there. He caught the hardest pitch ever in an All-Star game, tracked per StatCast. I think that's a pretty cool thing. Mason Miller touching 103.6. Somewhat impressive. Somewhat. So Anthony Santander and Jordan Westberg, of course, do not want to leave them out. They each made it into the game. Santander made it in the top of the fifth, replacing Juan Soto in right field. In the bottom half, he took a 96-mile-an-hour fastball from Hunter Green, roped it into right field for a single. He would be the only Oriole to get on base in this game. And the very next hitter on a Jarren Duran home run, Santander would score. And that run would make the game 4-3. Duran circling the bases himself would make it 5-3. But that fourth run would end up being the decisive run in the game. It cannot go without saying that like Santander's trajectory from Rule 5 pick in 2016 to this injury-riddled borderline major leaguer, just trying to make it, trying to stay on the active roster, to the point where he is now anchoring the heart of the best lineup in Major League Baseball, ignoring the last month. Best lineup in Major League Baseball. You know, it's just one of the cooler stories that certainly I, in my time as a Orioles fan, have witnessed. And to really like kind of drive the point home of how long he has been with us and how much he has been grinding. You know, as I had mentioned, Adam Jones was out there this weekend. Those two were teammates for 3 seasons from 2016 to 2018. So it is really, excuse me, it's a impressive thing for Tony to be where he is. And just really, really like, yeah, very excited for him. First All-Star game. He looked great. He made an impact. And yeah, you know, we'll obviously we'll see where the future takes us with him. He is on an expiring contract, but the contributions he has clearly made to this clubhouse, the contributions that he has made to, you know, like just team production in the most like kind of non-personal and like tangible way. He's been phenomenal for us in every facet. So shout out to Tony, and glad he got to have that moment. Glad he got to make that impact. Jordan Westberg did not make any huge contributions in this game. He got out there and, you know, in his first full season, that is special enough in itself. He has very quietly just been one of the most excellent players on our team. And obviously we are one of the better teams in the game. You know, he is something special. He is not something that I think anybody saw him being, even when we were all calling for him to get called up. He is He is, I think, playing better defense than we expected. He is impacting the ball more than we expected. He is controlling the strike zone more than we expected. I mean, just like in every way, he has taken his game to higher heights, and he is rewarded for it in an All-Star game appearance in his first full season in the major leagues. Shout out to Jordan Westberg. That is so cool. Um, the other big event this weekend was the MLB Draft. There are a lot of people who know more about this than I do. I encourage you to check out those resources. Um, if you want a resource in podcast form, we here at the Warehouse Pod, we do not do free ads. But if we did, I would refer you to the great coverage from Bob, Zach, and Nick over on The Verge. They do great work, but I'm not referring you to them because they're not paying me enough money. I, as a layman, as a somebody who pays more attention to the major league team, of course, does not study up on the draft, anything beyond the first, maybe 100 players. I'm going to talk about some trends here, maybe some interesting notes from how the Orioles have diverged a little bit. But I will not take you through all 20 rounds. That's not a thing I'm capable of, and I would be lying to you, uh, and you would be getting bad information from me. So that's just not a thing I'm going to do. I respect you guys too much, and I want you to continue respecting me. So I'm not just going to throw trash in your ear. Um, but yeah, so I'll take you through those day one picks. That is, the first and second rounds, as well as any comp rounds in there. Those guys just have more information publicly available. For the Orioles, we had all college hitters for those three picks, which, just tends to you have some batted ball data and you have in zone and out of zone contact rates. And you have all of this extra information that I would never have for a high schooler. Somebody out there probably does, but I don't know what website they're on. So, yeah. So in the first round with the 22nd pick, obviously the Orioles are not picking in the top 10 this year like we're used to. In the first round, 22nd pick, the Orioles picked up Vance Honeycutt, outfielder from UNC. This guy is pretty special, and it's kind of unique to get him here. Coming into this year, Vance Honeycutt was a consensus top 5 pick in this year's draft. Consensus. I mean, across the board, everybody said that's one of the guys. According to MLB Pipeline, 60 grade power, 60 grade arm, 65 grade runner, 70 grade fielder in center field. I mean, this dude is just tooled up. He has all of the physical traits that you could possibly want. He's electric, and he showed really good leadership skills on that UNC team. People seem to really enjoy him. He's charismatic. Um, and for all intents and purposes, like when you come away with someone in the first round and you say, what do you look for? You look for upside. You look for that high ceiling. He's got that. You look for somebody who people gravitate towards, who will be able to handle the pressure of that first round pick. He's got that. And so the question just inherently becomes, okay, well, why did he then fall to us as the 22nd pick if I'm telling you all these wonderful things about him? And the very simple thing is just he swings and misses so much, just so much. He does not necessarily make good swing decisions. His in zone contact rates are pretty low for as elite of a prospect as he should be. He struck out a lot this year and only hit 318. I know, like, we look and I think Shohei Ohtani is hitting 316 right now. I cannot stress this enough. The Division One college environment is not the same as Major League Baseball. The 318 batting average, or yeah, 318 batting average, or whatever it was, is really pretty low. The best hitters in the league are hitting 450, 470, somewhere in that range. Yeah, like I said, he put up 80 some strikeouts, did not have the greatest OBP, but he did put a charge into balls, really like phenomenal slugging percentages, exit velocities. He just needs to make contact. So, this season, I think, put a lot of doubt into people's minds. He struck out like 30 more times than he did last year as a sophomore. Um, put a lot of doubt into people's minds as to whether he could really hit at the next level, or whether he was only getting to this power because he was swinging out of his shoes, and that's all he was really able to do is get lucky every once in a while. Um, all of that said, you know, taking a step back from performance this season, etc., like the tools are louder than you find at the back half. Excuse me. At the back half of the first round, pretty much ever. You do not find guys who have really this kind of upside consistently across the board. The upside for him is really just a five-tool player. It's an elite like power speed combo. It's something like a Luis Robert, who is an incredible defender, can hit bombs. Robert put up almost 40 home runs last year, and will strike out some, and like will have some flaws as an offensive player, but is able to overcome that because of just the damage they're capable of doing. So, like getting tools like that with the 22nd pick is not something that usually happens. There is real talent here. And with some adjustments, you just like you dream on the possibilities with this guy. Um, Orioles hitting development has obviously treated us pretty well in recent years, and this Elias regime has some of the magic sauce. I don't know where they got it, but they've got it. And if we can figure anything out with Vance Honeycutt, he pretty much instantly becomes a really like fearsome prospect, and kind of instantly starts jumping people like Judd Fabian in the organization, Dylan Beavers, some of these other tools, the outfielders. He is like that, and the ceiling is just so much higher. So after that, the O's received the number 32 pick. This is a result of the prospect promotion incentive. Once again, Gunnar Henderson, truly just the gift that keeps on giving, because he was on the major league roster at the beginning of last year and won Rookie of the Year. We get another pick that's virtually a first round pick. So with that, the O's picked up Griff O'Farrell. And how we managed to get two people named Vance and Griff in the first two rounds is beyond me. It's just kind of ridiculous. I think there are so many weird names in the Orioles system. Heston, Gunner, Hobie, Griff, Vance, like it just up and down. We have some interesting names. But Griff O'Farrell is more than just his name. He is a shortstop from the University of Virginia. Offensively, he seems to be entirely opposite, like the antithesis. Like if they touched, they would combust. Like uh, like just complete opposite to Vance Honeycutt. He has wild, like just insane contact skills. The bat to ball skills are just ridiculous. He has this super handsy, totally not powerful swing, incredible bat to ball. Something I like saw in researching this is that he swung outside of the zone more than all, but I think like it was 7% of hitters swung at pitches outside the zone, just chasing everything. But his out of zone contact rates were better than like 96% of hitters in college. So he will just swing at everything and he will make contact with all of it. Um, that said, he does not do damage on any of it. He had a good on base percentage, had a good batting average, and his slugging percentage still did not touch 500. He does not impact the ball, and that is probably the single biggest knock on him. And it, in all honesty, is a bit of a deviation from what the Orioles have traditionally done in their top rounds. Usually, we've seen people with a bit more loud tools, and this guy does not seem to be that. Um, that said, he has like a pedigree of performance. Obviously, UVA is a very good program. Won the national championship a couple years ago, perennially in the playoffs. And last year, Griff O'Farrell won the award on Team USA for the best hitter. He probably would not have if Charlie Condon had not won the award for the MVP. But we will give credit where it's due. Of course, he was at least the second best hitter on Team USA last summer. And beyond the bat, his defense receives really high marks. It's potentially a weak arm, they say, but really good movements at shortstop. They say his tools play up because of a positive IQ. Everything I've seen has said he has top of the line makeup as well. People really like him, and he's got a good mindset to kind of maximize the abilities that he does have. He's willing to learn and adjust his skill set to meet the moment. So Griffo Farrell, 32nd pick, the 32th pick, 32nd pick. Um, the third and final pick of day one was Ethan Anderson, a catcher also from UVA. Anderson's a switch hitter. He spent most of his time behind the dish this year, but did not play there as much in the playoffs. I have not really heard a report as to why that is. It could be that he struggled, or it could be that his bat plays up when he's only hitting. We see this with Adley all the time. People call it the catcher tax sometime. Um, when you are catching, you are reviewing the hitters the next inning, looking at scouting reports, building a game plan with pitching coaches and the pitcher. You are not as dialed in and not able to just think about hitting the way that other position players are. So that's important to note. He did not spend much time behind the dish as the later portion of the season, the playoffs rolled around. But he did play the vast majority of his time there. I think it was something like 29, 30 games, as opposed to 5 or 6 in 29, 30 games at catcher, as opposed to the 5 or 6 not. So I think that's important to note. But with the likes of Kyle Teal, a high first round draft pick last year, uh, really holding down that catcher position for UVA until last year's draft. A lot of resources have not seen Ethan Anderson's defensive profile as much as a lot of, yeah, or I guess, as much as we have other people. So there's just not quite as much information on his defense. You are curious how it will progress. I don't think reports have been bad about it. But clearly there's, the Orioles probably have more information than these online resources do. I'm sure they've, brought him into workout or at least scouted him more than I have. So that said, we'll see how the defense develops, but the calling card is his bat. He is a switch hitter and receives plus marks for his hit tool and his raw power. He had 40 walks against 32 strikeouts last year, so clearly this is a disciplined, refined hitter, somewhat contrary to the first 2 rounds. Seems to me like a plus offensive profile and, really a pretty secure one this deep in the second round. I think that's a relatively nice find. It seems like it's a question of where his home is defensively. Orioles announced him as a catcher. Obviously, they're going to try to work with him there. We will see how it goes. But yeah, it seems like from everything that I can glean, like really secure and pretty steady offensive profile to build off of. Potentially could work out at first base, something to that effect. To take a step back, those were the day one picks. Like I said, I'm not going to go too deep because I would just be regurgitating information that I have read in the last hour, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So once again, if we did free ads on The Verge, they're great guys. But to back out a bit, so the O's had 21 picks in this draft, 20 rounds plus the prospect promotion incentive. They chose 11 pitchers. I think this marks the first time in the Elias era that we've drafted more pitchers than position players. That is purely on intuition. I did not fact check that. But, this has been a little bit of a trend in recent years. In the first couple seasons, we would end up with like 3 or 4 pitchers on the draft board at the end of at the end, and we have seen that number start creeping up each year. And the Orioles are clearly finding confidence in their ability to draft uh, and develop pitching on our own. I think like a name like Alex Pham, I think he was a 19th round pick, and is striking guys out left and right at AA. I think that gives the O's confidence that we actually can find talent in the draft and develop it properly, whereas we might not have had that confidence prior. And I think that we're also seeing, with the injury, I guess, backdrop environment of pitchers, that you can never have enough arms. And so starting to like keep infusing the system with talent in that regard, I think is very important. Just another look at kind of like the breakdown of what years each of these guys were. We had three high schoolers chosen and one player out of JUCO. Um, the reason I bring this up is these players typically command over slot signing bonuses. Um, if you do not know how the slot system works, very simply, each pick is assigned a value. You add up the sum of the values of all of your picks, and you are allotted that much money. If you start to go over that by a certain amount, you start getting taxed. And so basically, you are given a fixed pool of money to spend to give these guys signing bonuses and convince them to come join your team. When they are high school players, they have the ability to say, no, I'm going to go to Vanderbilt, Auburn, one of the best colleges in the country, and I'm going to develop my skills there. And then I will see you in a couple of years and try to draft me again. Uh, and so, they just have more leverage. JUCO players can get drafted in their first year. And so they also have the ability to transfer to better schools or return to the JUCO they're at. There are options for these guys, and so they will require more money. That's all it really is. To that effect, I noticed that uh, the two of the rounds that the Orioles grabbed, one high schooler and their JUCO draftee, uh, they had previously grabbed two consecutive fifth-year seniors right before it. These fifth-year senior guys have effectively no leverage whatsoever. They cannot go back to school because they have already done one extra year. They've already redshirted, and they have nothing left for them back there. So the Orioles can, you know, I don't want to say cheat them, but the Orioles can say we're going to give you $10,000, and they'll say, okay, that's fine. Um, and I should grant there are minimums, so you cannot completely cheat these guys. Uh, Actually, I take that back. There are maximums for undrafted free agents and maximums for people after certain rounds. No, I saw a player sign for $7,000. I just saw. I think it was a Red Sox signee. So no minimum. Those fifth-year seniors will be getting next to no money, but they will come join because they want to play minor league baseball. Um, so maybe after seeing we were able to snag some talent and some value into fifth-year seniors out of college, we then decided, okay, now we've got a little bit of money to play with. Let's go ahead and take a shot on this JUCO player, this high schooler. And so we'll see, how the game of trying to line up a bonus pool and play these games works out. One other notable guy is our third round pick, Austin Overn. He was an age eligible sophomore and so does maintain a lot of the leverage with the ability to return for his junior year. Junior year is really like where you are given your fair market value. If you are drafted as an age eligible sophomore, you can usually get a little bit more. I think that might be a tough sign, but Jim Callis did say he was, potentially the best outfield defender in the draft. So it does seem like a guy the Orioles would want to sign. We know that they value athletes up the middle, and that's the last trend that absolutely stayed true throughout the entire draft. The Orioles drafted center fielders, they drafted catchers, and they drafted shortstops, and that's about it. We value the athleticism and the ability to move to another position. So all in all, I think that assigning a grade to a draft the day or two after is a pretty stupid exercise. It might make more sense in college and basketball, college, in football, in basketball, where you can go ahead and these guys will impact your team next year. It's just not the case with baseball. We won't see these guys for years unless they are Paul Skeens, which is what makes him so phenomenal. But, to my eye, it's like the Orioles are kind of taking a shot on Honeycutt, betting on their ability to develop hitters. Once again, something that has not failed us yet. I think the same thing can be said about Griff to an extent because he just doesn't hit the ball hard enough. That said, I think that was a knock that was thrown around about Joey Ortiz back when he was drafted. Just the lack of power, hitting in a super hitter-friendly environment, New Mexico State. But at the same time, Joey clearly developed that ability. Exit velocities were off the charts. That was one of the reasons the Brewers wanted him, and it's one of the reasons he's succeeding with them right now in the major leagues. So once again, the Orioles have confidence in their ability to develop players. We will see how it all plays out. That said, for right now, it's the All-Star break. We are resting. The Major League Orioles are recovering from a grueling first half. We are calmly relaxing in first place in the AL East. We are erasing the last month because we all know the team was tired. We'll see how we come out. And that's about all I got for you. If you could be so kind, as always, we ask you guys to subscribe to the show on YouTube, uh, in podcast form, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at the Warehouse Pod. You can like, subscribe, you can comment, you can engage with us in whichever your preferred method is, and we would always appreciate it. It helps us reach new viewers, reach new audiences. And we're always grateful for that. So thank you for the support. Thanks for listening, and go O's.